Hi everyone, welcome to our daily live stream. This is wow, we've been doing this for a little bit over 2 weeks. For those of you all who are new to this, the whole point of this is Khan Academy is a not-for-profit with a mission of providing a free world-class education for anyone, anywhere. And over the last many years, we've been building resources that start in pre-K with Khan Academy kids through elementary, middle, high school, and the core of college. Not just math, not just videos, but deep interactive exercises, dashboards for teachers, English and language arts, history, sciences, SAT preparation. And that has made us very well suited to help to really step up for the country and the world as we go through these school closures. But we realize we need to do as much as possible on top of that. And so the whole point of this live stream is for all of y'all who are using Khan Academy or thinking about using Khan Academy or just trying to navigate the school closures generally, we wanted a place for folks to connect and feel connected, especially in this time of social distancing. And so every day it's very informal. Myself and I'm going to bring some team members on. We sometimes have special guests. We try to answer your questions and make any announcements that are relevant. I do want to start off as reminding everyone we are not for profit. We are funded by philanthropic support from folks like yourself. We were running at a deficit even before this crisis, and with this crisis, our server load is roughly 250% of what it normally is. Our registrations are 6x from teachers and parents of what it normally is. Parent registrations are 20x. So if any of you find yourself in a position that you can donate, please think about doing so. I want to give a special shout out to several corporations who stepped up in the last few weeks with very short notice to help us, although we need more help. Bank of America was the first, followed by AT&T, Google.org, and Novartis. But we need more help from individuals and corporations. We are literally going to go millions few weeks and months. But with that said, I would love to, I'll bring my colleague Dan on, who helps me answer all of the questions that we get on the live stream. And I encourage all of y'all to start asking questions on whatever you're using, YouTube, Facebook, whatever channel. And let's see, it seems like there's already a couple questions, but Dan, you can always jump in. But this question is from YouTube. This is Crazy Cookie 3908. It's pretty impressive that there were probably 3,907 crazy cookies before you. So it says, hey Sal, will there be summer classes? Will this be all year round? That's actually a super powerful question, Crazy Cookie 3908. I think about 2 weeks ago, the school closures were announced in this country and really through the world. There's 50 million students out of school in just the US, pretty much close to a billion globally. And it happened so fast because of just the health emergency. And I don't think a lot have thought no one had time to think about what the implications, but now it's becoming clear that in most of the world, the school closures actually might happen through the summer. And so the way we've been thinking about it is we want to be able to support teachers, parents, students over the next 2 months so that we can keep the learning happening, keep everyone learning. But we also see summer as a really powerful opportunity to keep going. There's no reason that once you've built the practices and the habits to keep learning over what would be the traditional school year, that whether you're a student, parent, or teacher, that you can't go over those 3 months as well. And that might be the silver lining of historically summer has been, there's the term summer slide. It's been a time for lost learning. And now we have an opportunity to do, now we have an opportunity to make it valuable for learning purposes. And so, yes, simple answer, what we're trying to do in response to the school closures and COVID, we expect to be able to do through the summer. And I think next school year is going to be interesting. We all hope that the social distancing, the school closures are not in place as of back to school. Hopefully the summer temperatures will help kill some of that virus, reduce the spread. But there is a possibility that in October, November, December, what's traditionally flu season could actually make COVID go up again. And so we also want to think about if that happens, how we can continue to support folks. But the big takeaway is summer is an opportunity that we all have to keep everyone learning. Excellent question. All right, so there's another question. This is from Facebook. Dina Everett Nouveau says, "Hi, I'm a parent new to Khan. I saw the sample daily agendas. How do I link the daily schedule to my children's accounts? Thanks." Well, Dina, the schedules are very simple documents, and you can actually adapt them. You can copy and paste them into your own docs and adapt them as necessary. And those just have links to a relevant part of Khan Academy. And what if the student, if your child clicks on the link, it will go to their Khan Academy, and if they're logged in, they will show up as the logged in users. So if they click from their computers or whatever they're using, if they click on that, to let's call it fifth grade English and Language Arts on that document, they'll go to Khan Academy and see fifth grade Language Arts. And if they're not logged in, they can log in, and they'll be logged into fifth grade Language Arts. And if they're already logged in on that computer, they will be on their accounts. So I think that's what you might be asking. And that brings up another interesting thing is, we've made those schedules. We made 4 different versions of them. One for kind of the pre-K, kindergarten, first grade crowd, one for the elementary crowd, and then one for the middle school and one for the late high school crowd. And what you could do is then make them even more fine-tuned for your children's needs. Because, for example, for the late elementary crowd, we said, okay, you might want to use third grade or fourth grade or fifth grade or sixth grade or seventh grade math on Khan Academy. And depending on the strength of the student, you might want to remediate or not, but you know your children better than anyone, and they know themselves, hopefully, and so you can narrow that down. Work on sixth grade, or if you had some weak foundations, work on fourth and fifth grade while you work on sixth grade as well. So I completely encourage you to fine tune those schedules for your children's needs.
So Sal, I would add next week we are hosting some parent webinars for different age groups specifically, and we'll be going through both the schedule that you created and kind of helping parents find the right content for their kids and diving a little bit deeper on how to use Khan Academy specifically matching to those schedules.
Yeah, awesome.
So Sal, we have a question
Oh,
here.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a great
Yeah.
question on YouTube from Arav Jain, who says, "I'm in 4th grade and I want to learn more about sciences. Can you post something on Khan Academy about that?"
So, Arav, we want to help you. We currently do not have what you could call fourth grade science on Khan Academy, but and I hope over time we are able to add that. And I'll remind everyone we're not for profit. The more support we get, the more we can think about adding more subjects. But if you are genuinely interested in science, I think there are places you can start. I actually think that we have several, for example, even our high school biology, and I know you're only, I'm guessing, 9 years old, and high school biology could seem daunting, but I actually think some of the intro levels of high school biology you could start to engage in. My oldest son is actually a little bit older than you. My daughter's about your age. And actually, I've been doing stuff even in some of the early chemistry, high school chemistry units on what's an element, what's an atom, what's an atomic number. I think these are types of things you could completely understand, and it'll be really interesting, especially some of the stuff in biology to understand. I was talking to my daughter, who's about your age, this morning about what's a virus, how's a virus different than bacteria, are viruses living, what's the definition of life, what's RNA and DNA, how do viruses replicate. So these is obviously very, very important things to think about that's very relevant to the world right now. And I encourage you to, depending on your interest, to start digging in and see what works for you. See, other questions. So this is from Facebook. Scott Yang asks, "I enjoyed the daily live streams. Will you do it again next week?" Yeah, we are set to keep doing this until no one wants us to do it anymore. So, no, we think this is super important. And I say it at the end of every live stream. I myself, in this time of social distancing, feel more connected by being able to do this. And I know a lot of our team here at Khan Academy does. So we want to do it for sure. Keep that connection going and make sure that all of you feel supported. So from YouTube, Stephen Amanzor says, "When was Khan Academy founded?" And Stephen, if you do a web search, you'll find a lot of talks on YouTube and other places for me talking about that. So if you want in depth, I recommend you doing that. But long story short, about 14, 15, actually 16 years ago, I'm getting old. My cousin Nadia, who was 12 at the time, needed help with math, and I started tutoring her remotely. Word got around my family that free tutoring was going on. And so I started making resources to scale it up. It at first had nothing to do with videos. I was creating the software part, the early version of what you can now, the practice software in Khan Academy. And then a friend suggested that I make videos to supplement it, and that kind of took on a life of its own. In 2008, I set it up as a not-for-profit, which just means no one owns Khan Academy. I don't own Khan Academy. I'm an employee of Khan Academy. I own as much as you own of Khan Academy. And then 2009 was when I quit my day job to try to work on this full time. It was a tough year. I was living off of savings. But then in 2010, we got some of our first support from some foundations and corporations. And so we've been able to grow all the way till today, where we're over 200 folks. We have thousands of volunteers. There's 40 translation efforts around the world of Khan Academy. We're trying to add subjects and grades. And we were already reaching 17, 18, 19 million students a month before the crisis. And it looks like our daily users is up roughly 50% now, and our actual total traffic is up 2.5x. So it's been a bit of a wild ride, but we feel privileged to be able to support you and so many other folks. Dan, you got more questions?
Yeah, so I just wanted to share, here's our 10-year t-shirt from last year. So to
Dan
your
showing
point,
off his clothing. I'm wearing a
so Sal,
vintage Khan Academy hoodie.
so Sal, we have a question on YouTube from Carmenta. Hey Sal, I have a question. Will the schedule you made for all of us, will you switch it up or will it stay the same?
That is a great question, and was it Carmenita? Uh, so the schedules you see were the first pass that we put out a little over a week ago, and I hope that as we kind of get our legs under us, that we can provide more and more supports for y'all. One thing we are very seriously talking about are, yes, can we extend that schedule to maybe think about what goals could be week by week as we go through this crisis, not just over the course of the next couple of months during the traditional school year, but to a previous question asker, go through the summer so that you know, hey, given your grade level, given what you're trying to achieve, what are reasonable goals for you to achieve. And it would be cool to even switch it up, like, hey, here's the PE of the day. So we're trying to do it. We have a small but mighty team, and we're going to try to put as much together as possible. But that's a really cool idea to think about. How could we switch it up day by day a bit? Maybe we give a weekly schedule or something like that. So we're going to work on that. Let's see. There's other questions. So Facebook, Tamara Adams says, is this the new normal of distance learning? How do you believe is the best platform for assessments? So Tamara, what you're asking is a really intriguing question. I've been writing, actually, there was an op-ed that came out today that I wrote about. A lot of people are asking me, what's the new normal? What's structurally, how is this crisis going to fundamentally alter what we do going forward in schooling, and obviously in a bunch of other ways? The way I've been thinking about it is, given that this is, we're likely to go through the end of the school year and then summer, and then as we go into next school year, hopefully schools are open, but then they might have to close with fairly short notice if the virus picks up again in November, December. I think this is where the hybrid of in-person learning and having great online tools that are accessible and free is starting to become even more important. Even before the crisis, we've talked a lot about that everyone learns at different paces and has gaps in their knowledge if they're pushed together at a fixed pace. Teachers have always known this. They have students who come into a class on day one. There's some kids who are ready to move ahead. There's some kids who have gaps from 2, 3 grade levels behind. Teachers try to kind of teach to the middle, but that leaves some kids a little bored, some kids a little lost. And there was no way for them, they're taught in ed schools to try to differentiate, but it's really hard if you're one teacher in a classroom of 25, 30, or in some cases 35 or 40 students. And so even before the crisis, all of us at Khan Academy have been working with teachers and districts to say, okay, how can we support teachers in that way so they have the tools? How can we be the teaching assistant for that teacher so they have the tools to give that personalization for every student so they can fill their gaps in if necessary, learn along the class if necessary, and even accelerate as necessary? And then how do we do it with districts so that districts can have a read on where their kids need help or not? And now all of a sudden, when you have these school closures, the districts that have adopted those types of models where they were using tools like Khan Academy for even 20% of their class time, really as a strategic supplement, it's been much easier for them to transition to the school closure world because they can now lead, they've already rostered their kids, set them up. The students are used to using these tools. The teachers are used to reading the dashboards. And so they've been able to lean quite heavily on these, you can see the teacher or the district version of Khan Academy, and have a seamless transition. And so I think one of the new normals is the emphasis on being able to blend is going to be really important. Blend so that you can accelerate outcomes during a normal school year, but also blend so that if for whatever reason there's a school stoppage, that kids can keep learning and then the district and the teachers can keep monitoring. I think there's a whole other layer that's going to be really interesting around. I've been talking to some school districts lately. They're doing all sorts of training to help teachers start teaching on Google Meet or on Zoom. So I think that's going to be a new muscle that even when school's in session, I think might actually be an added muscle that'll be really powerful for a lot of types of schooling. So we will see, but a lot of things going on. I think one of the biggest questions that everyone's thinking about is access. Obviously, if you're watching this, you have internet access at home, but there's still a large fraction of kids in the US and even a larger fraction globally who don't. And I think this crisis shows us that at home, internet access is not just a nice to have, it's a must have, not just to access things like Khan Academy and keep learning, but also to just be socially connected and for your mental health when all of us are having to be socially distanced. Great question, though, and something we're thinking about it a lot.
So, Sal, we have a question on Facebook from Elizabeth Warner, and this is relevant for a lot of folks. So, where can a parent find out more about the upcoming parent webinars next week? Where's the best place to find these opportunities to send parents to? And really, what's the best place to find all of our resources that we're developing right now?
I could answer it, but I don't want to steal Dan's thunder because he's actually the guy who's coordinating. Dan, why don't you tell us?
Yeah, sure. So if you just go to khanacademy.org, right now we have a blue ribbon at the top and it contains links to all of our resources. Our parent webinars, the ones that are upcoming, are listed there, as well as webinars that we've already performed. We create links there and it's available for you to view. So in case you can't make any of them live, they're available to you after the fact as well.
Yeah, exactly. You just go to our homepage or actually any page on Khan Academy, that banner at the top, there's 3 or 4 links. One of them is kind of, we've been posting stuff on the daily schedules because a lot of people have been looking at that, and also that remote learning resources link that you can see right now. And and Dan is one of the many people who is constantly updating that to keep you informed. And also stay tuned on social media, our Facebook page, our Twitter, etc. That's also where we're going to be making announcements on new resources that we are adding. All right. So there's other questions. So from Facebook, Mary Miller is asking, any thoughts on adding more arts courses to the curriculum? So we don't have any major plans to add significantly new ones. And Dan, I don't know if there's a little hum from yours, or maybe you lower the microphone there. I'm getting a hum. I mean, it's not horrible. Oh, yeah, it's much. It's all of a sudden so peaceful. No, but on the art courses. We aren't going to add any new significant ones, but we have a partnership with Beth and Steven who do Smart History, who've been adding art history content on Khan Academy for many, many years now. And so if you haven't seen it already, I do encourage you to explore art history on Khan Academy. It's really, really interesting stuff where they're having these cool conversations about some of the most important pieces of art in the world, or actually almost all the important pieces of art in the world. So I encourage you to check that out. All right, so there's other questions here from Facebook. Actually, let's see. There's other questions below the. So from YouTube, Kimberly Klein asks, what advice do you have for GED students using the website? So Kimberly, my recommendation to you, as a GED student, I think there's 2 things you could do. Actually, even though it's not built for GED, I think our SAT practice could be great for the GED. It covers roughly the same, math, reading, and writing. And so if you get good at that, I'm confident that you will do just fine on the GED. If you feel like you have some more foundational gaps, especially in math or reading, then I encourage you to try to find your learning edge on Khan Academy Math and the Khan Academy English and Language Arts. And you could do that by just sampling and say, okay, the algebra stuff seems a little hard. Okay, the seventh grade stuff feels a little bit easy. Eighth grade feels right for me. And then you could take the course challenge and use that to assess what you know and don't know, and then focus on the units that on where you might have larger gaps. There's another way where you can actually start at the earliest possible stage at second grade in English and language arts and second grade in math, or even earlier in math, you could start and just go from there. And if you feel like it's ridiculously easy, you obviously can skip to the next grade. But that actually might be, and you could take the course challenges in math. That might be one of the most robust ways of making sure that you don't have any debilitating gaps. What we've seen, even strong students, A, B students who are in middle school, high school, even in third or fourth grade, they might have mastery of 99% of it, but there's always that one like, oh, that's what. That's why the distributive property works this way, or things like that, things that they've just taken for granted, but even that helps fill in a gap. So I think that's something that you can do. So from Facebook, Miran Ararat asks, how can we make sure that we maintain a good mental health during these uncertain times? You are my hero. Well, thank you, Miran. You're being very generous. The on the mental health side of things, and this is something I think a lot about because even before this crisis, sometimes life can get stressful, jobs can get stressful, school can get stressful. What I have found invaluable, and y'all have seen me talk about this before, has been meditation. And meditation isn't some fancy new age thing. I mean, it is a fancy new age thing as well, but it doesn't have to be a fancy new age thing. Meditation, it literally can be, you can start 5 minutes in the morning, and I've personally found the morning or right before I go to bed, but especially the morning is the best. When the house is quiet, is the best time to meditate, and it's literally just finding a quiet space, sitting. Posture matters a lot. Sit upright, close your eyes, be attentive, and just try to observe your thoughts. And you'll realize that you are not your thoughts. That there's all this stuff that's going on in your thoughts. I got to get that thing done. Why did that person say that? And how am I going to do this? And what's going on that TV show that I'm watching? And and like what's going to happen with COVID virus? All these thoughts are going in our head right now. And what you need to do is just learn to observe those thoughts and separate yourself from those thoughts. And a metaphor, and we've done some guided meditations on Kanaka. There you have it. Felipe has put the screen on, so you can go use these guided meditations if you want a little bit of help. But over time, you'll be able to do it on your own, and you're going to realize that as you rise above the thoughts, if you view the thoughts as cars on a highway, you just kind of get out of the highway and just watch the cars go by, that the cars start slowing down. And you're going to have these moments where you're like, well, you're not even thinking about it, you're just not thinking. And when you have even 5 minutes of that a day, and your mind will wander, and don't beat up yourself. Just say, okay, mind, that's funny, you wandered, come on back in. You're kind of like a sheep herding dog for your mind, and your mind are the are the sheep. So you just kind of, there's a little sheep that's going astray, and you got to bring it back. But I found if even 5 minutes a day, but over time, you're going to like it. You're going to want to do 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I do half an hour every morning. You're going to have moments in that half an hour where your mind is wandering, but moments in that half an hour where you're just completely still, and you'll feel really happy and really, really calm. And I found that it's not just for that 30 minutes or that 10 minutes that you're meditating. It just makes you more mentally resilient through the day. It's harder for people to trigger you, so to speak. You get less worked up about things, and you get less stressed about things. And so that's my best advice. And just don't beat up on yourself. Take everything one day at a time. To quote Frozen 1 and Frozen 2. Frozen 1, let it go, and Frozen 2, do the next right thing, which is awfully deep philosophy, which is actually consistent with most of the mystical traditions of most religions.
So, Sal, unfortunately, with the crisis affecting everyone around the world, this question is particularly important. So, from YouTube, Online Education Nepal says, hello, Sal, I'm Pushpa from Nepal. How can you move this into different languages?
Great question, Pushpa. So there are 40 translation projects of Khan Academy around the world, and there are different degrees of fidelity. We have the richest versions in Spanish-speaking Latin America, Brazilian Portuguese, and we have actually a team in India that is trying to work on the various languages in India and aligned to the standards in all of these places. And then, of course, you have this other 30 something projects going on. So that's what's going on right now. I'm actually not expert on the state of Nepalese, if that's of particular interest. But if we don't already have a translation project there, obviously we would love people to start one. So that's one layer that we think we can help with. And then the other layer is in many parts of the world, things like internet access, et cetera. And there where we do try to work with philanthropists, corporations, telecom carriers to make it more accessible. But that's our best answer right now. All right, YouTube. Samyam Hyundai is asking a really simple question. What do you think is the purpose of life? That's a good question, Samyam. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I think not to get too metaphysical or too deep, we find ourselves in this big mystery. And I think, current world events, which feel almost surreal, dystopian, whatever you want to call it, I think really emphasize because that we're finding ourselves in this big mystery. And I think one of the purposes is to reflect on the mystery and to experience this mystery that we call life and the universe and everything. And I'm obviously making a few references to Douglas Adams. But yeah, I can't claim that I know the purpose of life. I will say that sometimes in your moments when you can actually still your thoughts and bring your mind away from, I guess you could call it material reality and all of the distractions in material reality, sometimes you can feel a deep peace and connectedness to the universe, whatever you might want to call that. And I think that actually can sometimes make you feel very grounded and very happy. And so, I can't necessarily describe that as the purpose of life, but it can give you maybe a lens on life. But it's a really really good question. One framework, who knows if this is true, is this is something of a learning experience for obviously we talk about learning at the academic level, but life itself is a mega learning experience. And there's frameworks of imagining that every person on the planet is another version of yourself, and so we're all connected in some way. Who knows? I don't want to get too metaphysical because I don't know the answers, but it's a deep question that I'm sure we will keep struggling with. Okay, some YouTube Gurpreet is asking how to deal with demotivation and how to approach a new topic. I think the number one thing with demotivation or procrastination is to just get started. And I've talked about it in other sessions. There's something called the Pomodoro technique where you can kind of set a timer and say, I'm going to do 20 minutes and I'm going to focus and I'm going to get something done. And then give yourself a break after that, force a break after that, and then jump back in. And, one thing that I've always reminded myself is to just keep on moving. I actually am a big believer in starting the day with making your bed, and I have a little bit of a ritual which includes meditation. I go do some pull-ups in my garage. I do some push-ups, and the reason why I do those things, it's not so much even for my health or to make my bed look nice. It gives me some wins early in the day, and I find that on days that I'm able to have some accomplishments within 20, 30 minutes of waking up, that my brain just loves that feeling and wants to then have more accomplishments and check more things off. So that's my best advice. And when I approach a new topic, I view it as an adventure. And so it's just, you could approach life in this. This is like a mystery. It's like a game, and it's a puzzle. And so even if something looks dry or you're not sure how it applies to your life at first, if you look at it with that lens, and if you look at it with the lens that you're able to look at human knowledge that has been accumulated over thousands of years, and you are the beneficiary of being able to consume that. Isaac Newton would have done anything to have access to the textbooks, the resources that we have today. Pythagoras would have done anything. Marie Curie would have done anything to have access to a modern chemistry or biology book. We get that. And we get the lifetime's work of so many people who've dedicated their lives to it. So view it that way, it's quite exciting, I think, to learn. And it's fun to meditate in a different way, or it's fun to sit and think about the learning in a way that it forms those neural connections in your brain and it becomes intuitive. And when you do that in one subject, all of a sudden a lot of other things start to make a lot of sense. So it looks like we're all out of time. You guys got me talking about topics that I obviously have limited knowledge about, but I enjoy pondering. But I just want to remind everyone, or tell everyone, thank you for joining. We do this every weekday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's a fun way for all of us to connect at this time of social distancing, and we want to do everything in our power to keep students, teachers, parents learning, keep them supported. And I'll also put another plug in. We are not for profit. Please donate if you're in the position to do so. Thank you so much.